Welcome to the deep dive. We take your source material and really dig in, pull out those key insights for you.
And today, yeah, we're looking at this really compelling interview. It's called Sharing Number 9, From Electronics Major to Million Yuan Brand Manager.
Right. The title alone grabs you. Our mission here is to unpack the, well, surprising wisdom from Y, the brand manager in the story.
Exactly. Because her journey, it really pushes back against that common idea, that you need this clear passion, this lighthouse, as she calls it, to succeed.
It's fascinating, isn't it? She starts in electronics engineering.
Worlds away from brand management.
Totally. And now she's in this high-flying, high-pressure role, apparently earning $1,000,000 yuan, which is definitely successful by most measures.
And the how is what's really key from your sources. It wasn't some grand plan. It was about, doing her best in the present.
Even when the future was totally unclear. So, yeah, let's dig into how that approach actually worked for her, starting way back.
Okay, so even in high school, you can kind of see traces of this. Her grades. The source calls them stably fluctuating.
Huh, I love that phrase.
Yeah,
So one minute she's near the top, the next, down in the hundreds.
apparently. Must have given her teachers whiplash. But the interesting thing is, despite that inconsistency in results,
Yeah.
she had a really systematic way of studying, methodically reviewing, planning tasks.
So periodic self-checks, seeing what she needed for the Gaokao, the big college entrance exam.
Exactly. Daily plans, weekly plans, monthly plans. It was the process that was consistent, even if the ranking bounced around.
That's a really neat insight, focusing on the method, not obsessing over every single test score fluctuation.
Yeah.
Already doing her best with the task at hand.
Yeah, it's an early glimpse of that philosophy.
What about other parts of high school life? The sources mention a relationship, sort of underground.
Briefly, yeah. Seems like not many strong memories there. Just, typical teenage stuff. Minor disagreements.
So not some big defining drama, just part of the background noise as she was figuring things out.
Pretty much. Which leads into her choosing college, which was surprisingly low-key.
Low-key, for choosing your university and major? That sounds wild.
Right. She apparently used just a basic handbook, minimal info, made the choice kind of by feeling.
Wow. And she described it as simple utilitarian.
Yeah. She picked electronics because the little blurb said hardware and software.
Ah, so she thought it covered all the bases. The
Yeah.
most comprehensive option in that general tech direction.
That was the idea. But looking back, she realized she was actually leaning more towards software, maybe computer science. And she admits she didn't really grasp the differences in curriculum depth between unis back then.
Which is so common, right? You're making these huge decisions with, frankly, very limited information and experience.
Totally. Her story just highlights that gap, choosing
Yeah.
the broadest path because you don't know the specifics yet.
So she gets to university. And you know that old saying, university is easy.
Yeah, not her experience, apparently. Well, maybe the first couple of years.
Right, she admits she took it easy at first. But then things started to bite.
Pressure.
Internal pressure, family expectations, the looming job market.
Ah, okay. So reality check time.
Exactly.
Okay.
And she decided she needed to, prove something. To herself, mainly.
So she went for a scholarship in her third year, which she said was her toughest year academically. Lots of hard professional courses.
And the big takeaway wasn't the scholarship money itself.
Nope. It was the confidence boost. That feeling of, okay, when I actually decide to do something, I can do it.
That's powerful. Really cementing that do your best now idea.
Yeah.
Effort leads to capability.
Precisely. And that confidence, that self-awareness seems to have influenced her next big decision, or non-decision maybe, this graduate school. She decided pretty clearly not to go.
Okay, and why was that? A lot of her peers probably did.
Yeah, most of her roommates did, apparently. But she did this, cost-benefit analysis.
Oh, right.
Very. Her parents were older. She wasn't the first kid, so finances were a factor. Plus, she just didn't see herself as a research-type person.
So self-assessment played a big role.
Definitely. She felt domestic grad school wouldn't add that much value over her undergrad.
And international study.
Too expensive, basically. The potential return on investment didn't seem worth it for her family situation.
What strikes me is the lack of struggle she describes. No agonizing, even with peer pressure.
Right. She just knew it wasn't her path and made the call. That decisiveness is pretty impressive.
Okay, so no grad school. She's ready for the workforce. What was the first step?
Her first job title was Product Documentation Engineer.
Documentation. like writing manuals.
Exactly. She actually aimed for product manager, but she mentions struggling with group interviews.
Ah, okay. Some people ace one-on-ones, but find group settings tougher.
Seems like that was her. Anyway, she gets this documentation job.
Yeah.
She pretty quickly decides writing physical manuals for software is, well, her word was meaningless.
Wow.
Her logic was brilliant, actually. The best manual is letting them play with the software, get the user interacting directly.
That makes perfect sense.
Mm.
So what did she do? Just complain about it?
Nope. She took initiative. She suggested making videos instead. Product demos, tutorials, that kind of thing.
Okay, proactive. How did management react?
Surprisingly, her manager just said, you just do it.
Really? Just like that? For a new hire?
Yeah. She thinks it was partly because the company structure was kind of loose.
Less rigid hierarchy.
Maybe. And perhaps because she was a junior hire on a lower salary, there was more tolerance for letting her explore a bit. A bit of a gamble, maybe?
But this freedom, it wasn't all easy, was it? She mentioned something about immense solitude.
Right, because she then had to spend about 2 months basically teaching herself video production.
Wow, 2 months. Mostly alone.
Yeah, no real mentor, no one to ask, and crucially, no immediate output to show for it.
Oof. That sounds tough in a first job. The pressure to deliver something tangible?
Exactly. And she reflects on this now, saying, back then she was nervy, but also ignorant of fear about workplace expectations. Meaning, now she knows that going even 2 weeks without showing progress would feel like a crisis, let alone 2 months.
That's a really telling contrast. The naivete of starting out versus experience perspective.
For sure. But that period, that self-driven, isolated learning curve, it clearly built something in her. Resilience, initiative.
And it directly led to her next step, didn't it? This whole video project.
Yes, that bold move, identifying a problem and teaching herself the skills to solve it. That's what ultimately helped her pivot into a brand manager role within the same company.
She literally carved out her own path by just tackling the problem in front of her. Amazing.
And it brings us right back to her core philosophy, the thread running through everything.
Which is?
If you are not the kind of person who definitely has a lighthouse,
That single clear passion.
as long as you move forward, your direction is right. Just keep moving, keep doing it.
It's such a different message from what we usually hear. Find your passion.
Totally. She doubles down on it. No matter where you go, when you don't have a clear passion, the most important thing is to do your best in the present.
And it will always take you forward. There's a real sense of trust in the process there.
And liberation, maybe. She also advises, don't be too anxious.
Yeah, that feels like permission to just breathe and do the work, even if you don't have the 10-year plan mapped out.
It suggests action itself clarifies the path, rather than waiting for perfect clarity before acting.
So how does this play out now in her current role as a brand manager? It sounds demanding.
Extremely. She calls it cycles of project battlefields and then brief intermission periods.
Battlefield.
Yeah, high pressure. She's linking upstream development with downstream marketing and sales, coordinating a lot of moving parts.
And she mentioned being in a spending department.
Right, which adds another layer of responsibility. Her role involves allocating significant budgets for brand building, not directly bringing in revenue. Big decisions, big impact.
Plus, she's a working mother. That's a whole other dimension.
Definitely. She describes her weekdays as basically 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and weekends, nonstop.
Wow, that's intense.
It is. But you can see how that core philosophy might actually help her navigate it.
How so?
By focusing intensely on the current project, the current battlefield, trusting that doing her best now is the right way forward, even with all that complexity and pressure. She's learned to manage the intensity, maybe because she's not fixated on some distant, perfect endpoint.
She thrives in the motion, in the present effort, rather than being paralyzed by the lack of fixed lighthouse.
Exactly. Her whole journey, laid out in your source, it's just a powerful example of building a really successful life and career without that singular burning passion we're often told is essential.
It's built on consistency, adaptability, doing the work, even when it felt isolating or unclear.
Yeah, and that core message just keeps echoing. If you don't have a clear lighthouse, just move forward and your direction is right. Trust the movement.
It's a really empowering idea. So maybe the final thought for you, listening. In this world that puts so much pressure on finding that one true passion, what could you unlock if you just committed fully to doing your best with whatever's in front of you right now?
Even if the future still looks kind of blurry.
Exactly. What opportunities might just emerge from the doing?